Years ago, I watched my mother lose her job after developing carpal tunnel from years of repetitive data entry work. She later had surgery, took time off to recover, and when she returned, she was later let go from her position. That moment really stayed with me. It made me open my eyes and realize how fragile work can be when businesses depend on outdated systems, manual processes, and people doing tasks that technology should support. That experience shaped how I think about operations, technologies, and the partners businesses choose to keep everything running smoothly. Today's guest is Kevin Anderson, and he understands better than anyone about keeping things automated. He's the founder of MSPwiz, a service that helps businesses find the right managed service provider, the MSP that matches their systems, their security needs, and their future growth. Instead of choosing the first name that appears on Google, Kevin helps companies evaluate MSPs based on fit, capability, and long-term reliability, all at no cost to the business. Kevin, my first question for you today: what inspired you to start your business, and how did you first get involved in the MSP world?
I started MSPwiz out of my personal experiences, running my own MSP and later serving as a fractional CIO. During that time, I faced significant challenges in selecting, managing, and also sometimes letting go of MSPs. So this journey really made me realize there was a need for a platform that overall simplifies the matchmaking process between businesses and MSPs, ensuring that companies really had that right partners tailored to their specific needs.
Yeah, I know many MSPs, and one of my colleagues, I did a podcast with him, said there's a lot of MSPs out there. Which one do you choose? And you choose the first name on Google, it might not be the right fit for you. Like, how do you evaluate them? And it sounds like you have a really good kind of matchmaking service between MSPs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, going to Google is always not the right best fit for, when you're looking for an MSP. So I always recommend that using a matchmaker service. Referrals are great. Sometimes an MSP works for one company, but maybe not for all, depending on the different industry or, types of technology that you have or different online platforms such as e-commerce. So definitely taking that step back and looking at your options, using different online services such as matchmakers to go out and find out the right MSP is definitely valuable.
And for business owners that don't fully understand the role of an MSP, how do you explain what an MSP actually does? You mentioned that you do technical support for like Office 365. Maybe it's like I know one MSP, he does support for Microsoft Azure. Tell me a little bit about what do these MSPs do?
Sure. So an MSP typically is offering a comprehensive IT support services tailored to the company's needs, right? So all different industries. Some focus on industry-specific services. So maybe they only go after healthcare, maybe they only go after professional services or legal, right? So they all specialize in their own key industries, but a lot of them will just go after the majority of it. So identifying, for one, what industry that you fall into and finding the right MSP that fits in that bucket is key. But typically an MSP, they'll provide managed services. So your help desk, if you have issues with your computer, Outlook, maybe even certain technology in your office, maybe telephones. Every MSP is different, but they'll basically overall just cover your core technology, what keeps that business operating at its core. So if you have an issue, you'll submit a ticket to the MSP so that they're your frontline support, usually for businesses that don't have their own internal IT team. And some companies do have their own internal IT team. So, and they're just an extra layer of second tier, third tier support, but they really act as your trusted partner, right? So they're allowing the business to focus on growth while ensuring their technology is running smoothly.
And it's very important that companies focus on getting to the next level instead of figuring out why they can't reset a password or some low-level problem. I know as a CEO, I'm involved with admin work. I remember I had to block spam from Gmail, and I had to spend time with Microsoft support on internet search trying to figure out how to create email filters. So it's great to have an MSP that can do that.
Exactly.
And so when you're interviewing potential MSPs, Kevin, what are the top questions you must ask before you sign a contract?
I mean, I would definitely, for the first, ask them about their references and look at their reviews, right? You want to make sure that they're qualified what they do. There's a lot of newer MSPs out there, which is great, right? But you want to make sure they're a good fit and have experience based on what your business is. and what you're looking to have supported. So making sure that they cover your industry, making sure that they support what you need to be compliant with, maybe looking at your hardware environment. If you have on-prem servers, you want to make sure that they can support that technology. And then also looking at your cloud environment, right? If they're using an e-commerce platform, they need to make sure that they're familiar with implementing those technologies or migrating and so forth.
Yeah, it's definitely important to make sure that your MSP has the skills to accomplish the task in hand. You want to make sure that you're seeing eye to eye with a contract. What risks do companies face when they simply choose an MSP based on a Google search or the lowest price, Kevin?
The lowest price is always hard, right? I always tell companies to not go after the lowest price. I mean, doing so can expose companies to significant risk, right? Often MSPs may lack necessary expertise or experience, particularly specific needs of e-commerce businesses. They're usually good at what they do with maybe Windows and Mac systems, but again, going back to what I hinted earlier about industry-specific needs, right? There might be different areas that, end of the day, the pricing just might not match up, right? So you pay for what you get for, but I will say, it's essential to consider the quality of the service and support over just the price to ensure that the business IT infrastructure is reliable and secure. So I just don't want people to go for the cheapest price, because you have to look for what's the best fit for your business, and also for what's going to be a long-lasting partnership between yourself and also the selected MSP.
And without getting too much into the weeds, can you tell me how MSPwiz works and what does it do, Kevin? How do you help companies find the best MSP without the price or the Google search?
Yeah, absolutely. So MSP works as a matchmaking platform that connects businesses with the right managed service providers based on their specific needs and the industry requirements, simply said. So, and like we've been talking about, e-commerce is an area that we ask about a lot. And when you onboard MSPwiz, we ask over 200 questions to both MSPs and also to the businesses, truly understanding what they truly need supported. So if an MSP can't support certain technologies, they're not going to be matched. So really asking all these questions and matching them up, it streamlines the selection process, ensuring that companies find the best fit based on their IT support needs.
Yeah, there's so many MSPs out there, and you're agnostic. You're not going to favor someone over the other because you're not commissioned. Your goal is just to help them find the right MSP for them.
Exactly.
And what are the biggest red flags you see when evaluating an MSP, whether an MSP is truly capable or even trustworthy?
First, I want to note that all MSPs are different, right? They may excel at many things, but lack other areas, right? And again, going back to different industry-specific stuff, right? So I've been there, done that. You have to pick and choose your battles. So, but each agreement, I would definitely see what the clarity is there, and the red flags. Right? So review the agreements. Make sure it works for your business. Usually, the agreements that MSPs provide will outline exactly what they're looking to provide. Sometimes they're broad, right? But look, questions, right? Have it noted in the agreement if you're looking for something specific, such as supporting an e-commerce platform or an on-site, server or custom-built piece of software. Others would be, look at their history, any poor customer reviews. Use tools such as Google or other online platforms. Use the internet to your advantage. See what their trend is. Look at their Facebook. Look at their social media. See what people are saying on LinkedIn. And then also just their unwillingness to provide, just their references or case studies. Ask them the questions. See what they provide. Because having that information could be very valuable for your decision making. And then, additionally, if they don't demonstrate a strong understanding of, certain platforms, say, e-commerce, that's another red flag. You want to make sure that they're confident in supporting platforms like that.
Yeah, you want to make sure they have the support and the right platforms for your needs, whether it's e-commerce or Microsoft Office. Absolutely. Systems like Sage and QuickBooks, they contain really sensitive financial information. And why is it so important that these platforms are supported by a strong MSP?
It's very critical because, they're prime targets for cyber attacks. First of all, a strong MSP ensures robust security measures, compliance within industry standards and regular updates to safeguard the data. It's really important to note that the typical MSP is only responsible for core infrastructure. So I wanted to note that this is where what's called an MSSP comes into play, which it's a security layer of the managed services provider. Usually a sister company or an outsourced provider to an MSP, but that's where you want to make sure that your MSP has is that MSSP layer, which is really responsible for the overall security, which is essential for protecting not only the business's financial health, but also its reputation and customer trust.
And as we move into 2026, what kind of security or technology trends should businesses prepare for now to stay protected and competitive? And we were speaking about server attacks. I think this is a good segue for us.
Sure. Businesses should really prepare in 2026 for trends like increased reliance on cloud services, greater emphasis on cybersecurity measures, for sure, and integration of AI-driven technologies. Overall, as we all know, cyber threats are evolving. Businesses must really prioritize on implementing robust security measures. So it's very important to keep that in mind in 2026.
And speaking of 2026, it's important for companies in 2026 to consider an MSP matchmaker when companies are moving to new systems or upgrading their tech stack.
Using a matchmaker to find the right MSP within the next year and even beyond is crucial right now. Like I've hinted on a couple of the questions so far, Joe. I mean, now's the time. Technology is huge. Security is huge. AI and the push to the cloud. Using a matchmaker is better now than ever because you don't want to rely on Google. Like we talked about earlier, you want that perfect match to ensure you're aligning with the right partner sooner or later, because you don't want to find later in 2026 that you're not matched with the right MSP that's not aligned with your industry, not aligned with your technology that you have, and also your roadmap for technology. You want to make sure that you're in the right spot now to be matched with them. Get that, because there's also the onboarding process, right, which can take 3 to 4 months, and then you're building a relationship. So that's the one things that we do at MSPwiz. We ensure that you're matching with the right MSP and also MSSP, which I talked about earlier. We're ensuring that you match with the right provider, so you don't have to change again within the coming years. Right, so we're setting you up as first assess. We ensure based on the multiple hundreds of questions that we ask, we're ensuring that for both sides, it will be a long-lasting relationship.
And speaking of choosing the right MSP, can you give me an example when one of your clients or someone chose the wrong MSP and what happened as a result?
Yeah, so typically when that happens, I'm trying to think of the right one. One definitely does come to mind. Unfortunately, this was a situation where the MSP just didn't understand the industry and also the tech stack of what they were getting into, right? So this is a typical story of when the sales guy overpromised. Company that, they're a public company, MSP wanted to win the business and went to bid out to 10 different businesses. A sales guy came in, there was a lot of strict guidelines and requirements for this particular customer. The sales guy said yes to everything. Unfortunately, it was later found that the MSP in question, or that won the bid, wasn't able to support the entire infrastructure, right? So whether it be supporting the Mac environment because they were hybrid between Windows and Mac, there was differences there where they quickly found out from help desk phone calls, right? And also because they were in the digital creative world, they weren't able to support their environment for certain applications like Kanto or other platforms like that. So finding the right MSP based on your requirements is very important, but also to vet them properly, right? Don't just listen to what the salesperson is saying. Do your research, use a matchmaking service, ask the right questions, and definitely just, take your time and fully do the vetting process.
And that's very hard for sales. Sometimes they lack a technical understanding of a problem and they may think they understand, or they're saying yes just because they want to make a sale. It's good to have someone, you sound like you're a very technical person. For business owners that are listening now who aren't sure whether they have the right MSP, what's the first step that you recommend they take?
Sure. Yeah. Look at their existing service level agreements. Look at support response times. Look at types of services provided, and gather feedback from team members. Gather what's happening now and bring that back and have that conversation. I would bring it back to whoever your account representative is, right? And talk through it. Otherwise, go through a matchmaking service because they don't have the resources to help talk through that and solve it.
And so in summary, what does MSPwiz provide businesses as they make the strategic step of hiring an MSP, either for the first time or to replace the one that they currently have?
So we simplify the process of hiring the right MSP, whether a company is looking for an MSP for the first time or really needing to replace an MSP. Our platform enables them to find qualified, vetted partners that align with their specific needs and technology requirements, ultimately fostering better long-term relationships, improving operational efficiency. So we're here to really just make sure that each business that is looking for an MSP, we match them with the right provider end of the day. And it's our goal is to keep it free for businesses, right? It always is and always will. And so we're hoping to change that.
Does your business receive some sort of commission? So let's say you referred me to ABC MSP. Do they provide you like a finder's fee?
There is a commission that we have with MSPs, right? So that's why we like to keep it free for businesses. So if we do a business with a MSP, there is a commission agreement that we have in place.
Yeah, so you're basically an outsourced SDR, except you only get paid if you send them qualified leads if they win. So that's great, because the problem with hiring a full-time SDR is you have to pay them if they're finding bad leads. But with your company, you're not on the payroll and you're only paying them a percentage of the sale, which is great.
Exactly.
That sounds like a really good system that you have. You're kind of like a Capterra almost, but you're with MSPs, whereas Capterra or G2 are for like software company recommendations. You're more for like MSP recommendations.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it definitely makes a lot of sense. So Kevin, I want to give you a huge thank you for joining us today. If your business is planning a tech upgrade, migrating systems, or simply wants better IT security and support, visit MSPwiz.com. Kevin will help you find an MSP that truly fits your needs. And if you're looking to automate e-commerce accounting and eliminate manual data entry, visit ConnexEcommerce.com. That's exactly what Connex was built for. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anyone preparing their business for a safer, smarter, and more secure 2026. Thank you, everybody.